Hey folks, this is Vincent and you're on Hanging Out Sunset. How are you today? How's your summer? Did you get that hot summer body you dreamt about all year? Did you ruin it already with too much margaritas and barbecues? Can't believe it's already August and I have to come up with a plan to lose those 13 pounds I gained in Europe. 13 pounds, 6 kilos. Damn that French bread and the confiture, damn all those greasy paellas and all the sangria I drank. Not gonna complain though. That was an amazing trip to my roots between Alicante, Spain and south of France. I got to practice my Spanish, meet the 80-year-old brother of my late Spanish grandma. Got to see old French friends and not worry about my broken English for a second. And if you follow me and Hanging Out Sunset, you're likely not bugged by my French accent. But I know some people do. A friend told another friend he couldn't listen to the podcast because of my accent. Well, fuck you. I can't do anything about it. Neither can you. Because of course, he is French. The nastiest species of motherfuckers in the whole world. Always complaining, always raging and ready to go on a strike or a revolution. Well, yeah, I have to get credit to that attitude because it's probably why we have the best health care system in the world and why we don't have to work until 75 to get a retirement pension. There are pros and cons, as always. Anyway, I went to France and I saw some friends and family. And it was great, but I'm glad I'm back in LA. Some people hate this town and I can't really blame them. But it's nice to leave and come back. I just spent the last 10 days recording new demos. That's all I did. And frankly, that's the best part of my summer so far. Because that's what I love doing. Playing music, listening to a lot of music, and then writing music and about music. Anyway, not gonna bother you any longer with my life. We're reaching the end of my summer special with Hanging Out Sunset, and today I have a young and brilliant artist from LA, CAPLAN. I'm going to tell you, we clicked right away. Never heard of him before, didn't know him, but he was performing at the Pioneer Town Film Festival and I wanted to meet him because they program so many great stuff there. You know, the Andy Warhols, Jessica Von Rabbit, all the music documentaries and stuff like Heart One Highway. It was a blast, really. So I figured it would be great to meet him too. And I wasn't wrong. We got a really talented and fun guy here. During this interview, we talked about his journey from alt rock to outlaw country, his experience working for Aftermath, you know, Dr. Dre's label. That's a big deal. We geeked on Sun Records, but also tried to rehabilitate the recorder. You know, the instrument responsible for so much music appreciation classes PTSD. And I think we did a pretty good job here, you'll see. We also talked about Mercury retrograde, you know, because I was having problems with my recording gear. And like true Angelinos, we blamed it on the astral world. He mentioned also that he had breakfast with Neil Young once. That's a pretty cool teaser, right? Come on, I'm trying to get you excited here. I know it's hard to listen to a podcast when you don't know the artist, but you got to trust me here. Chris, aka CAPLAN, is worth your fucking attention. You won't regret it, and if you do, take all your rage on me like a true French revolutionary. Alright, let's do the show. Hi everyone, today I'm with CAPLAN and we're at the Pioneer Town Film Festival this weekend interviewing a bunch of artists, and I'm very happy to be with you, CAPLAN, today and to have our listeners discover your music and yourself. So my first question is, how is the traffic?
For us, it was chill. It was like there was no traffic. I know it's going to be crazy this weekend because of Memorial Day and stuff like that.
Exactly. Everything happening at the same time. And this area became really crowded, like recently in the last years. I've been living in California and LA for the past 12 years, but and I discovered this place like 11 years ago, and I seen it change. Over time it became very hip. Kind of, so I can see that there is traffic now in the desert, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're based out in LA, and you were born and raised in LA?
Born and raised in LA, that's right.
Oh, that's great. Which area?
Burbank.
Burbank?
Yeah.
That's cool. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And would you qualify your music as Western Mexican music? That's what
I mean, well, the song that I have out right now is a cover of Como la Flor by Selena.
Yes.
And so that song, I guess you could call that Western Mexican for sure. It's kind of like trying to do my own thing with that.
I saw that somewhere that you were referred as a Mexican American Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
But that gives us a little bit of a hint of what kind of music you're playing. So how is it going? Do you perform alone? What's the?
Yeah, well, tomorrow night I'll be performing solo as a just singer-songwriter acoustic act. But yeah, I mean, I am really just starting this project as a solo artist as CAPLAN. Over the years I've done a lot of production for other artists, and I've also had my own bands in the past. But as you know, things have been a little slower in the past couple years.
Yes.
But yeah, when I perform, I'll both do it as a solo artist, just acoustic guitar, and I'll also do it with a band. I love playing with nice musicians.
I've listened to a couple of your songs, actually. Like you said, it's pretty new, but I got the privilege to listen one of the songs of your new EP, your debut EP that you're going to release, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
And no, I love the production, and it's definitely you're not alone in this, and there are many instruments.
Yeah. Are you thinking of Our Lady, the Queen of Angels?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So did you record all of this by yourself?
Yeah, I think I pretty much played almost everything on there except for I brought in a pedal steel player.
Yeah, I heard that.
Like really that cool old school Nashville sound, and I had my friend Jason. He played Jason Agu. He played the snare drum on it. But everything else, I played all the guitar textures, harmonies, the kick drum. Yeah, nice. I like to lock myself away and do the majority of the stuff myself. So.
That's pretty cool. I'm a musician myself.
Oh, cool.
And I love to get in my little studio garage.
Are you going to come jam with me on Sunday night? Are you going to come on stage?
We could do that. Maybe. We'll see. But let's take us way back. When did you really start doing music? What age did you really feel that there was something more here in the music than in other activities that you would do? Sorry, I'm losing my English today. Maybe because I got hungover last night.
Oh, no, it's all good. No, your English sounds great. Practice makes perfect anyway. Let's see. My first instrument was a recorder. Do you know what that is? The little plastic thing, which I was fucking terrible at. No, I don't think anyone that heard me play the recorder would.
Was that in school?
It was in school.
Oh, you had to learn that.
I did not have a natural gift for it. At least I don't think I did. But I feel like
who has a natural gift for playing the recorder? No one, I guess.
Some sick fuck that. Can we curse on this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a podcast. Someone I don't know. Someone I wouldn't like to associate with. Just kidding. I'm sure there's some nice recorder players out there.
Actually, you know what? I was totally surprised. The other day I was watching a footage of Ennio Morricone's music played by an orchestra, and
is that a recorder?
That's a recorder.
Get the fuck out. Really?
I was like,
oh my god. We haven't been putting on respect on the name of the recorder this whole time.
I know. And I was like, oh yeah, just process it, put it some reverb.
Literally the most iconic melody in like Western music.
It's probably one of the most records sold ever, I guess, in soundtracks,
See, this is the problem. I think I didn't excel at the recorder because they didn't try to. If they would have tried to teach me that, it would have been a different story.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Or maybe if you teach her process it through guitar pedals or stuff, that could be cool too.
That's true. maybe the recorder just isn't. It's not seeing its true potential.
I think so. I think that
maybe tomorrow night I'll go on stage with you and play a solo.
Bust it out
on the recorder. If
solo.
I can find a recorder here at the film festival, I'll do that.
Have you seen the movie Anchorman with Will Ferrell?
No.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
So he randomly has this skill where he's like incredible jazz flautist. And you made me think of this scene where he's trying to seduce Christina Applegate's character. And he like goes on stage and he literally like gets on a table and he pulls a flute out and just starts shredding jazz flute. It's incredible.
Amazing.
I recommend it.
I think I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll just come on stage and pull out a recorder from my shirt.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
I have to tell everyone that we were having some troubles with the technology, and I don't know, maybe it's the desert or maybe it's something else.
Mercury retrograde?
No.
I was asking you about it.
No.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you live in Los Angeles?
I do.
So that's why you know what Mercury retrograde is.
Exactly. And that's why I was like, no, please don't bring that up.
I'm sorry, I ruined it.
So let's go back. Sorry. The recorder did not do it. So what happened then?
I would say that my journey as a musician really began when I was 13 with bass guitar.
Oh, nice.
So that was my first instrument. My parents got me a bass guitar for Christmas, and I was so excited about it that I slept with it in bed with me, and then just kind of became obsessed with it. And then, got pretty, I would say, relatively advanced at it pretty quickly. And then just kind of haven't looked back, and then eventually got a guitar when I was 14. But yeah, I would say that would probably be the genesis, is getting a bass when I was 13.
And it's an unusual choice, usually like the teenagers are driven to the guitars. And so what made you like the bass?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think that my older brother had a guitar, and he was always kind of a dick to me, for the most part lovingly. But I used to be overweight. I was fat, and I don't think he wanted me to play guitar. So he's like, well, you're fat. You should play bass.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, but the joke's on him. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, totally. So bass first and...
Bass first. Yeah, well, then I ended up getting a guitar. So I was jamming with some friends of mine. We would do a bunch of, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like the kind of music, the alternative rock that they play on K-Rock in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Which was still rock and roll, which is not really the case anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it has shifted. The times have changed. But I remember... my friend Josh was playing guitar. I was playing bass. My friend Dylan was playing drums. And he couldn't learn Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And so I made a bet with him. And I was just like... and I was kind of cocky at the time. And I was just like, loan me your guitar. let me play this for a week. I'm going to come back in a week and I'll have learned that song.
Oh, my gosh.
And I came back and
did it.
And I pretty much had it after a week. And he goes, you know what, man? Just keep the guitar. No, but he gave me the guitar. He said, keep it. But it was like really not like... it was really like he loved me, and he was like, you should learn how to play guitar, and here, take this. I have another one, take this. So it was really sweet of him. So I'll always appreciate that.
That's
for
cool.
Sure.
That's cool. So you start playing the bass. You're into rock and roll, I guess, and
yeah. I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, I've always been interested in listening to all different kinds of music. I definitely didn't grow up listening to rock and roll music. I kind of discovered that more as a teenager. But I think the music that I really grew up listening to from like my dad would be like more like old soul and jazz, like because he was actually a musician too. And growing up, we listened to like Stevie Wonder, the Delphonics, like all that classic soul shit, like oldies. And then for my mom, it'd be like disco and like regional Mexican music and stuff like that. So,
oh, that's pretty cool. I was just in Memphis like 3 weeks ago. And
cool.
I got to visit the Stax Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Original studio.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Sun Records, too.
Dude, Sun Records? Oh, don't even get me started.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go there.
Yes. Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, just that.
If you have time.
Apparently, we do have time.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the time?
I said like about half an hour, 40 minutes, but
cool.
we can...
Wherever you want to take the conversation.
Yeah.
Cool
It's a free conversation. That's what I like to do, you know.
Oh, okay. That's what I love about podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to, do the same shit that they have to do on the radio and stuff.
That's right.
So
Sun Records. Yeah, there's something magical about that era because you have like Johnny Cash, you have Elvis,
Jerry Lee Lewis,
Howlin' Wolf. There's this girl who her name's Hannah Pitman, I think.
All right.
She has one song that I was obsessed called Handsome Man.
Oh, I don't know this one.
I know, because she's not famous. I think what happened is she slept with the CEO of Sun Records, and she got kind of shamed for it. Like, because, you know, I mean, I could imagine it'd be hard being a woman in the music business in the 1950s. And she is now appreciated, actually, as one of the early pioneers of rockabilly.
But
she has, I know, I'd never heard of her. She's not famous, but if in that kind of like niche scene, her name's, I think it's Hannah Pitman. I could be wrong, but she has a song called Handsome Man that I heard that I had on repeat. It just, all those records from that era, whatever gear they were using at that studio, and just the magic of the time period, like all those records are like some of the most dope sounding records of all time.
Have you been there in the room?
I've not.
And so it's crazy. When I was in this, it's just a tiny room, and they're still operating the studio. So
oh wow,
during the day it's more like tourists, like tour guides, and they actually walk you through the whole building, and you end up in the studio at the end.
Wow.
And they have all the, you know, Elvis's mic and stuff, and they're still there, and they're like, you can even touch it. I'm like, what?
Do you know what kind of mic it was?
No.
Was it a Neumann?
It was. I didn't check. I have a photo of it. Let's check.
Let's stop this podcast
It's
now
like,
and check.
You know, it's like those retro mics, like very identified with Elvis and the era. So that was pretty cool to be there. And we went to Tupelo to see his childhood house, and then of course Graceland. And
Tupelo's in Mississippi?
Yes. That's
Mississippi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tupelo,
it's like an hour and a half drive from Memphis. So we just did that in one day. It was pretty cool.
Righteous.
So you love Elvis. Actually, I saw you make a cover of on your Instagram.
I do. Yeah. I'm actually really looking forward to that movie that's coming out on him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I love the trailer. I was like...
Yeah. They don't always get the biopics right. But when they do...
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah.
That Johnny Cash one was pretty good, right?
They nailed that with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, there was that moment where there was like I Walk the Line, I think that was called, came out. I think there was I actually didn't see the Bob Dylan one, but there was another one that came out. There was a time period where they were kind of like doing these like biopics on artists from that era.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be out pretty soon, I guess, in June or something. So it's pretty cool. So you pick up the bass, you start playing with your friends, and so what's happening after you? Do you have a band? What was
actually, I started a band in high school. We were called Liebehart. And it was Nick Stratton, really incredible. I mean, one of the greatest guitar players. Honestly, one of the greatest musicians I've ever met. So shouts out Nick Stratton. And he was like really, I feel like the virtuoso, and he was being mentored by the guy from the Scorpions. I forget, he's like this crazy but he was like an insane musician. But I was always writing songs, and I was like writing. We kind of like came together, and we found Dylan, who was also a super talented drummer, and all those guys are still playing. Nick's actually touring with this band called the Hardy Har with John Fogerty. The guy from Creedence Clearwater. So they're touring with him now and doing a lot of cool things. So shouts out them.
Wow, that's pretty great.
But yeah, we had the classic like high school band story where we were doing really well. We were playing at different. We actually used to play at this. So the bass player of the band, he was older than us. We were all teenagers. The bass player was in his 20s because he was dating Nick's older sister. But he used to run this venue called The Spread. So The Spread was this house in the valley, in Sun Valley, actually. And it was pretty cool. There were some bands that would play there, like, you know the group Haim?
Oh, yes.
Those sisters?
Yes.
We actually opened for Haim when I was 16, before Haim was big.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And I remember it was just two of the sisters. And they played, and at that time they weren't famous. I remember, I think maybe they had, like, MTV had written a blog post about them. But it was pretty cool. I mean, it was just like a lot of like college kids.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
It was really cool, yeah. It was definitely like they were capturing some kind of little subculture in LA at the time. This would have been in like the late 2000s. But yeah, so we played there, and we were like the only high school kids playing there. It was mostly like college audience, and we did like Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. And we had some
So what kind of music is that?
Liebehart was, I would say, like alternative rock. I mean, we were listening again. I mentioned like the late '90s and early 2000s. Like I would say like K-rock. A lot of these bands that K-rock would have played around that time, they were like alternative rock from like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, all those like '90s bands. That and then like your Pink Floyd and '70s rock. We were a rock band, and it was like this kind of classic story of we're all in high school. We're all in the band together. We're like, oh, we're all going to make it together. We're going to get signed and then jump on a unicorn and fly to the Grammys because that's how the music business works.
Exactly.
And then it fell apart just because of like ego and just drama. But I mean, it was an amazing experience. And now as adults, we all love each other. And
that's great.
It's total. Everything's
so you get
cool.
to still be friends and support each other.
100%.
That's the best. And are you still? Did you start producing stuff at the time? How does it go? You start recording demos?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was like at that time. I don't think I was producing us. I was writing the songs. I started to get into production in college when I went to community college for a couple years, and I just had a laptop and I was just kind of like making demos that way.
That's how it starts, right?
It is. I guess it is how it starts. But I will tell you, I mean, producing is something that has taken me like the longest time to do because I feel like I got good at playing different instruments, doing the singer-songwriter thing, singing, like doing that like kind of meat and potatoes musician stuff. But I would never, as much as I would try to make records over the years and I would work with producers, and it would never be the way that I wanted it to be. And it took me forever to get good at producing. But I feel like in my mid-20s, I kind of got better at it. And then over the years, I feel like I finally dialed it in where I can pretty much whatever I hear in my mind, I know how to make now.
You have your own studio?
I do, yeah. I have
That's pretty cool.
Little home setup.
Nice, and you can record drums and everything.
So I don't record drums there. A lot of the time, the way that I work, and I guess you'll hear this with this EP that I'm finishing up right now, that's actually going to be named after that song that you heard, Our Lady, the Queen of Angels. I'll compose a lot of the drum parts in the studio using like software and stuff like that, and then I'll hire a session player to interpret it. And in this record, I have the privilege of working with this really incredible mixer and upcoming producer named Eddie Spears.
All right.
He's blowing up right now. I don't know if you heard of this artist named Zach Bryan.
No.
So Zach Bryan is like probably going to become the biggest artist in like alternative country. Like he's definitely next. And Eddie produced his record, so it's kind of just cool to be part of the scene. But Eddie is mixing my record. He helped produce it in that there are live drums. So I would program the drums on the record, and then I would kind of send it to him and this incredible session drummer named Axel Coe, and they're all based out of Nashville. And then he would interpret kind of like the ideas and just killed it.
But how did you do the switch from alternative rock to going back to, I guess, your roots, more like Mexican music and / country music?
Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, the bringing my Mexican heritage and like the Spanish music into it. I would always do like covers in my sets like that. I feel like my roots is just being like a singer-songwriter.
So you and your guitar.
Just me and my guitar. Yeah. But I just lost my train of thought.
So how did you first, before talking about your heritage, but how did you grew up into country artist? Is that?
Well, I think that's a really that's a good question for a lot of us in LA. This is actually funny. I think that I always appreciated country. I love Johnny Cash. I mean, Johnny Cash is one of my heroes. I think that, interestingly enough, I feel like one of the early records, and probably for a lot of people in the early 2000s who weren't necessarily a part of like the country community, like I remember listening to Rick Rubin's records, his later records, like When the Man Comes Around, and then, like his hits like Ring of Fire and all that stuff. I mean, he's just the GOAT.
Oh yeah, he is. I definitely had my period listening to those records by Rick Rubin and then discovering the all-time classics from Johnny Cash.
Yep, exactly. So I think that was a window for a lot of people. I think a lot of people who were really into folk and folk rock and country rock, like that was kind of like the starter kit for like going deeper.
Exactly. So when he starts covering U2 or 9 Inch Nails, and you're like, there's a door that opens to another world.
Exactly. And so I think that was a window for me. Willie Nelson I always loved. I had the opportunity to see Willie Nelson in a small town hall venue in Joplin, Missouri.
Oh, nice.
So my grandmother on my dad's side is from Missouri. So when I was 16, we got to go. We were visiting this great aunt who I'd never met before, and Willie Nelson happened to be performing. It was a really intimate venue, and so I got to see that and be exposed to that kind of like outlaw country as a teenager.
Nice.
Took some like bluegrass guitar lessons after that too. I think I was just really inspired by it. But I think I was more into folk music, and I would say that a lot of people that are into outlaw country music right now, or are trying to do that like musically, are like refugees from folk music or punk music. You see a lot of people that like maybe 10 years ago that were into punk rock or folk punk or all these other genres, like are now kind of like, I guess maybe it's a genre as you're an aging millennial you can age into. So
talking about outlaw country, tonight they're playing Hawthorne Highway, the documentary.
Yeah, about Towns Van Zandt.
Are you gonna check the screening tonight?
That's the plan.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Are you gonna be there?
Oh yeah, I brought my vinyl, and tomorrow, because I bought this like maybe 6 years ago or something like that, or 5 years ago, and I found it at Amoeba. The
R.I.P.
Like, yeah. Exactly. Graham Leader, the producer, is going to be here. He's going to do a Q&A, and tomorrow is going to be here with me too for the podcast.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty cool.
Interview.
I'm very excited about that. So are those guys that we see in the documentary, like Towns Van Zandt, Guy Clark, are those your references for what you do now?
I wouldn't say they are, actually. Those are people that I probably discovered later on. I mean, in high school I was exposed to Graham Parsons.
Oh,
who is definitely in that category. But I would say that, like,
I love Graham Parsons.
Oh yeah, really beautiful.
And we're in Pioneer Town, close to Joshua Tree, so it's meant to be.
Soaking in the vibes.
Yeah.
Towns Van Zandt. I mean, I know the song. I believe it was him that wrote Poncho and Lefty, right?
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm. I think some of those guys. I think at a younger age, my exposure to country music would probably been more of like those kind of artists that like Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash, Graham Parsons. I mean, Bob Dylan, growing up, was my favorite artist, and probably in a lot of ways still is. And he himself is a bridge in those worlds. Like
That's
he has
right.
Nashville Skyline. He played with Johnny Cash. I mean, Bob Dylan is probably kind of what got me into Johnny Cash and stuff like that too. So
I have a similar background than you, because I had also a long period of time I was obsessed with Dylan's music, and he opened me doors to other stuff too. So
yeah,
I love it. He's playing in LA soon.
Have you seen him live though?
No. I guess he's 81.
I love Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
All of my respect to the elder statesman. I saw him in high school, probably. Where did I see him? I saw him in a smaller venue. It's just, you know what? I'm not going to speak ill of Bob Dylan on a podcast. Go buy tickets to go see Bob Dylan. He's a living legend. I'll leave it at that.
I was very, very lucky. I went to the Desert Trip Festival in 2015.
Oh, wow.
But I missed Bob Dylan. He was the first one to play.
Desert Trip was where it was in the Coachella Valley.
Exactly.
It was old Cella?
Yeah, exactly. That's old Cella. So I got to see Neil Young, the Rolling Stones, Roger Waters, Paul McCartney. Well, only legends.
Wow.
But I missed Bob Dylan because I arrived too late. I wasn't supposed to go there, and somebody got me a ticket. And that was a great surprise, because I just missed Paul McCartney was doing a secret show at Pappy and Harriet's right here.
Wow.
Where we are. And we arrived because I heard it on the radio or saw it on internet in the morning. I said to my wife, let's go.
Wow. So
and
cool.
we arrived, and we couldn't make it because he played inside, actually, the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
We were like, we're fine, there's a line, but we arrived in time and we'll make it. No, actually the line, they closed the door like maybe 15 person before us, and that was it. So we're like, no, we have to go back to LA without seeing Paul. It was heartbreaking. I just had a text from a friend who was going to Desert Trip. He said, well, no, I had it on the phone. He said, I just landed. He's a French guy too. Ready to go to Desert Trip. And he's like, what's happening? What's happening with you guys? And you're so sad. So we tell him the story, and he's like, okay, I had an extra ticket for a girl I'm seeing, but she I'm gonna give it to you guys. If you can find another
Wow.
ticket, well, let's go together, and then you can crash into my hotel room.
What?
That
Wow,
was
that's
the
great.
nicest gift ever.
Yeah, seriously.
So that was pretty cool. And that week I got to see Neil Young twice. He played in Pomona, and I didn't know I would go to Desert Trip, so I saw him again. And what was amazing about his set is like he played like three hours probably each set, and maybe only 3 or 4 songs were the same. The set lists were totally different. Do you like Neil Young yourself?
I love Neil Young.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I actually had breakfast with him when I was a little kid.
What?
Yeah, my dad knew him. Not from the music industry, because my dad left the music industry in the 70s. But so my dad, growing up, my dad was in this, he still is in it actually. It's this, it's called the Train Collectors Association.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that before?
Well, I know Neil Young is a huge
Yeah.
fan of
Yeah.
trains.
So my dad too.
Oh, wow.
And growing up, my dad was in the TCA, the Train Collectors Association. So he would buy and sell, and all these old guys that, that love trains because they grew up with them, and there's like the whole thing. I hated it as a kid. Well, I don't know if I hated it, but it was boring as all hell when I was a kid. But Neil Young was part of the TCA, so my dad knew him from that. And it's really interesting because I told you, my dad never really listened. I mean, he appreciates all music and stuff like that, but he was never really into like rock and roll. And I had completely forgotten about ever meeting him when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I didn't really know what his music was. But I remember in high school coming home from school one day, and my dad had just had a copy of Rolling Stone on his table, and it had Neil Young on the cover. And I was like, well, and my dad's not the type of person to ever buy a Rolling Stone. And I was like, what's this? And he goes, oh, that's my friend Neil Young. And I was like, what do you mean that's your friend Neil Young? He's like, you don't remember?
Oh my god!
I actually have a story about him and the TCA, and I don't know. I think this is true. My dad is a very creative person who's prone to tall tales, so I'm assuming this is true. So hopefully the fact checkers don't come after me if this is in fact not true. But what my dad told me is, so Neil Young's son is has some kind of disability. He's like paraplegic or something like that. My dad told me, because Neil Young is a real genius, like obviously a musical genius, but I know that he has all these other skills. And apparently he took the technology that makes the toy trains run, and he rigged his son's wheelchair so he could like motorize it. This is what my dad tells me. I mean, I believe him. I mean, it sounds legit. It seems like something he would do, but regardless,
totally.
it's a good story.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right. So you have your first bands, then you switch to Outlaw country.
Well, there was a long journey. To get to Outlaw
You
country.
played a band called Trickster Guru.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you did your homework.
Yeah, I did. I tried. I didn't know you, so I had to do some research, and I'm glad. And also saw that you collaborated with Dr. Dre, and I was like, what? What is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you elaborate on that, or is it a secret?
What part do you want me to elaborate on?
How did you collaborate with Dr. Dre?
Okay. Well, so I ended up working with him, and there are definitely elements of that story that I can't talk about. So I ended up working with him because
NDA.
Not because I actually think I did sign an NDA for some, because I auditioned for him, and it was a filmed audition because they were doing a documentary who at the time was collaborating with Dr. Dre, and so I worked with that artist closely, and so I did have the opportunity to audition for him, and he hired me for Aftermath to work with an Aftermath artist at the time. That was a pretty awesome experience.
What did you do?
As a producer.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so I broke into the hip hop game because, as I mentioned, my father, who was also a session musician back in the day, and my father, I don't know if you know who Billy Preston is.
Oh yeah.
So my father actually went to high school with Billy Preston.
Amazing.
And so my dad, he was a session musician back then. My dad, although he didn't play music growing up, he exposed me to a lot of great music, and I think gave me like that taste. And so a lot of hip hop records are sampled from old soul, psychedelic rock and stuff. So I grew up listening to those records, and so to me, those records are very like just natural to me. And so when I started working with a lot of like people in the hip hop game, like I could recreate the way those old samples sound, And in fact, when I was working for Aftermath, one of the things one of the other producers is we would pick a bunch of old samples and we would go, okay, well, how can we recreate this or stuff like that? And that's actually one innovation that Dr. Dre brought, because as you know, like a lot of, especially earlier hip hop is sample based. But one thing that Dr. Dre did that really pushed the genre and music forward is interpolation, where basically he would listen to rather than just sampling the records, he would bring session musicians in, and then they would recreate the records, and then he would make the beats from that. And that, I really feel like, elevated hip hop as a genre, which elevated music in general, popular music. And so I think I grew up loving hip hop too. I just love music, but that was a lot. I feel like I could kind of create these like what are called starts that kind of have like that soul feel to it, So
should we expect some soul into the mix of what you're creating right now?
1,000%.
Yes,
1,000%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think when people ask me what kind of music I make, and you've heard a little bit, you've heard Our Lady, the Queen of Angels, Como la Flor. I say that I sing in English and Spanish, and I mix alternative country rock and soul. So,
good.
All those
That's
things.
Great. It sounds easier when you say it than when I tried to say it first. Well, that's amazing, and I'm glad that you're releasing your debut EP very soon. When is that?
Getting ready. Well, now that it's getting mixed and Eddie's finishing it up, we're gonna take label meetings so you can get a record deal.
Oh,
so
nice.
Get a little backing.
So we're still early in the process.
We are early in the process, yeah.
And I'm glad that we get to experience that live tomorrow.
Yeah.
At the Pioneer Town Film Festival.
That's right.
That's great. Is it Can we still play the song on the podcast or not?
Which song?
The Our Lady. No, we're gonna play the Selena cover.
Yeah, I think that'd make more sense for now.
Yes,
yeah. Sure, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Play it away.
So, and Selena, she's like one of the biggest star in Mexico, right?
In Latin America, and in the world. But yeah, she is Chicana. She's actually from Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know the story. I'm sorry.
But she's Mexican American. Yeah,
okay. There was like a big TV show or something.
Well, I would say the movie with Jennifer Lopez is really what kind of helped like tip her over into like the mainstream. And there was recently a show that also. Yeah,
sorry, I have to tell my whole ignorance about that part. And
no worries at all.
And but I should be ashamed. My mom is Spanish. She was born in Spain.
Oh wow.
And I have roots in Hispanic roots myself.
¿Hablas español?
Un poco, sí.
Okay.
So podemos continuar el podcast en español, pero
¿quieres?
No sé si la gente que están escuchando van
No, porque es principalmente por los hablantes de inglés, ¿verdad?
Or we can keep up and keep going in French. I don't know if you speak
I don't speak French. That would be a real challenge.
All right, I'm super excited. Thank you so much, CAPLAN, for being with me today, and we're going to listen to your cover from Selena, Como la Flor.
Okay.
And thank you so much for giving us this time.
Of course, it's been an honor.
Sé que tienes un nuevo amor, sin embargo te deseo lo mejor. Si en mí no encontraste felicidad, tal vez alguien más te la dará. Como la flor, con tanto amor me diste tú, se marchitó, me marchó hoy, yo sé perder. Ay, 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 oh cómo me duele. Ay, 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 oh cómo me duele. como duele perder tu amor. Con tu adiós te llevas mi corazón. No sé si pueda volver a amar, porque te di todo el amor que pude dar, como la flor, con tanto amor me diste tú. Se marchito, me marcho hoy, yo sé perder. Ay, 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 oh, cómo me duele. Ay, 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 oh, cómo me duele. Como la flor, con tanto amor me diste tú. Se marchito, me marcho hoy, yo sé perder.